On October 26th of 2000, the heavily hyped PlayStation 2 is unleashed on the masses.
The first year of PlayStation 2, the biggest hit on PlayStation 2 was Matrix. People were watching the movie. They weren't playing the game. PlayStation 2 sparked the DVD market in Japan. DVD hadn't caught on in Japan. And before PlayStation 2, you'd walk through Akihabara and there'd be game stores every place. After PlayStation 2, you'd walk through Akihabara and you'd see DVD stores. And if you walked into these DVD stores, they were demonstrating movies using PlayStation 2.
The Dreamcast would have been a bigger player, in my opinion, had it had a DVD player installed from the get-go.
Sega looked over its shoulder and they realized they had lost Japan. There was no resurrecting Japan. They might have been able to hold Japan if they'd had a DVD player in there. Because, you know, in the early days for PlayStation 2, PlayStation 2 was the cheapest DVD player in Japan. And if they had had that distinction, they might have been able to hold on.
PlayStation 2 sales hit $165 million in its first 3 days. And the Dreamcast suffers.
I mean, it was just silent. Dreamcast sat on store shelves. No games did that well again. Even good games just kind of sat there and people took them, but it was just somebody turned off the light.
It was a big hit with gamers, but unfortunately it wasn't really, you know, commercially viable. It came in at a sort of awkward time and right before the release of the PlayStation 2. So unfortunately it didn't sort of build the fan base that it could have.
Sega, you've got to understand, is hemorrhaging money as a company. They realized that if they could sell 4 to 5 million units worldwide, that they could still have a profitable market. They could last a little longer.
Sega catches a break in December of 2000 when Sony can only ship half as many PS2s as it planned for the holiday season.
We had a crew of people who were very into being the underdog.
I'll allow you to die like a warrior.
Oddly enough, becoming the underdog almost galvanized us further. It really brought us together as a team because we knew exactly what we had to do.
And they thought, you know, we drop our price, we come out aggressive with all kinds of things, including you could have a free Dreamcast. And it wasn't enough. They pushed. And at the end of Christmas, they hadn't made headway.
What are you saying?
Rumors started coming out that Sega was no longer manufacturing Dreamcast.
No!
And I remember interviewing Charlie Belfield. I said, the rumor is that you're going to discontinue. And he said, no, that's not true. And I said, are you manufacturing them now? And he said, no. And I said, how much inventory do you have? And it turned out that there was more inventory in the channel and in their warehouses than there was sold. And I said, okay, that doesn't look good. Charlie, when will you start manufacturing again? And that was when Charlie said, you know, we have no plan to start manufacturing again. And that was the first time Sega came out and officially announced that, yeah, we've discontinued.
It was a real crush to the egos of everybody. I mean, I remember I was in the meeting where we were told that the Dreamcast was not going to continue, and everyone just was silent. Everyone was just speechless. You know, no one said a thing. It was just very heavy, very oppressive. I don't know that Sega could have done anything differently to really save the Dreamcast. The biggest nail in their coffin was Sony really pushing the PlayStation 2.
To the delight of gamers around the world, Sega announces that they are going to create games for all consoles.
I think it was a time where Sega really had to address itself and say, are we going to now just be a software company? And if we are going to be a software company, is the team that we have here going to be one of the best organizations to build great software? Because that's going to have to be our focus.
Come on, let's begin.
And that's going to have to be our drive. And that's how we're going to be able to survive.
Go!
So when Sega said that they would no longer be hardware specific, there was a lot of excitement. They really were the belle of the ball. Microsoft, for their Xbox console, got Sega to promise them Panzer Dragoon. A beautiful game. But Sony turned around and they had the Virtua Fighter series locked up for themselves. You know, that was the arcade hit, and that was the bigger seller. Especially in Japan, that was a big seller.
Virtua Tennis!
There was a very committed Sega fan base right up till the end of Dreamcast that very much appreciated the Sega style of gameplay. As we transitioned from a hardware company pushing the Dreamcast platform to a software developer, we were able to successfully convert the Sega fan base to other hardware platforms via our games. We were able to explain to gamers, yeah, you can still have your jet grind radio, but it's just going to happen on these other platforms, but we promise you it'll be the same exact wonderful gameplay experience. And Sega gamers came along with us.
But the Dreamcast will live on in gamers' hearts and memories.
If you picked up a Dreamcast, you were holding something that felt like a gamer's machine. It felt like it was made for games.
Without a doubt, the Dreamcast showed the world that online gaming was possible and fun and interesting on console. So there's no question, with respect to online gameplay, Dreamcast will be remembered forever.
Dreamcast was something special, mostly because, you know, it came from Sega. So the games that really were released with it, especially at the beginning, were some of the best games of the last generation, or even this one.
I've been in this industry a long time. I've seen a lot of hardware companies come and go. Dreamcast will always have a position in this industry from a historic standpoint. Because it did so well in the first 2 years that it was there, it really established itself.
Here is a system that was ahead of its time. People who owned a Dreamcast in 2000 and 2001 were probably a lot happier than people who owned a PlayStation 2, because there were a lot of great games for Dreamcast. I think that it will go down in history as one of the more desirable systems.